Another Saturday night. Oh, yeah, we already did one show. We had a doubleheader tonight. So, welcome to part 2 of this week's Taking It to the Nub. Tonight, I have a great pleasure of having Dave Yancey and Ash Red. These are co-partners in Leaf and Grain Society. Now, these just aren't anybody that just out there created something and said they know what they're doing. This is some very, very intelligent people when it comes to pairing cigars with whiskeys, beers, and brews. And we're going to learn a lot about all of that tonight with Dave and Ash. So let me bring my guest in to the show. Dave, welcome to Taking It to the Nub.
Thank you for having us. This is exciting.
It is. This is my second show of the day, so this is weird.
I thought that I saw you come on earlier today, and I was just like, "Wait a minute, did we miss it?" I thought he said it was later on. And, no. And Red and I were both at the Underground because we got in a next shipment of our cigars in, and so we were down there labeling them, and it was like, okay, did we miss out?
No, I had another one I promised also this week, which was coming out from California, Kareem Fort, and he is a film producer, and he is has been putting together a documentary film called Smoke Big, and it's a whole celebration of the LA cigar culture, but also brings in a lot of celebrities and also tremendous information out in visiting Nicaragua, Jalapa, the fields, brought camera equipment out to Jalapa. People were like,
oh, wow.
They never seen camera equipment. They work in farms. And he goes, it's pretty funny to see the reaction to being on camera because nobody does that. Right? Mm-hmm. So it's going to be released hopefully in February. So I'm looking forward to it. I've been following this for the last 3 years. So I was happy to have them on.
Wow.
So I figured we'll squeeze 2 shows in one night. Why not?
Very cool.
Why not?
So anyway, so let's talk about you all. All right.
Okay.
So, Dave, I know you from the Underground. You were so kind to me, sharing some of your fine whiskeys whenever I was there, and also this fine cigar, which I did a review on, and I really like this cigar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But talk to me about what is Leaf and Grain, and how did it start?
So Leaf and Grain Society actually started as a group that our other partner, Matt Harris, Spice Man, and I put together about 3 or 4 years ago now. That was called Crafted Cravings. And so I've always been an artist, and I've always been just fascinated with the crafted things, and so from that, my passion around cigars and whiskeys and wines, because when it comes and food, when it comes to the true crafts, everything about this is all handmade. And so I told him, I said, I want to put a group together to bring people together for this. Well, that group kind of morphed into more of an artist type community and less about this. And so fast forward to June of 2021, we're in the middle of all of the COVID, and Red and I are getting more active on the community on Instagram. And we had been talking for a couple of weeks now, probably a couple of months now by this time, about pairings and just how fascinated we were with the pairings and really getting into the depths of the pairings of not just strength versus strength or body versus body, but flavors and mirroring flavors and understanding that. And so I got on Instagram and got into the whiskey community and decided I was going to do a pairing live. And she did a pairing live in which she and I had a conversation of, let's do this together. And so on July 20th of last year, we had our first live show. And it just blew up from there. And it has blown up from there. So all three of us really got into studying about cigars and all everything about cigars, from the regions, the soil, the terroir, the types of seeds, all the different types of seeds and the leaves and what the process is. And I dove even deeper into whiskeys and wines, and she dove deeper into coffees and beers and such. And Matt is a classically trained chef. And so we all came together and said, let's do this because people are interested in this. And so thus Leaf and Grain Society came out, where the leaf is obviously the tobacco and the grain is everything else, because everything is either grown from a grain or fed by a grain. And so we wanted to form something that is all about educating people on cigars, whiskeys, all the spirits, not just whiskeys, coffees, teas, wines, beers, craft beers, stouts, the whole bit of it. And for those who, we found that people are really interested in how to elevate their experience with cigars and the pairings to that next level. And through all that, we started teaching about how to care for your cigars, that a Maduro is not a leaf, it's a color. Connecticut is not a leaf, it's a region. It's classified as a color, but it's not a real color.
Not all Connecticut's are mild.
Not all Connecticut's are
Not
mild.
all Connecticut's are mild. Thank you very much. And not all Maduros are ass kicking.
Not all, yeah, and the strength of and the biggest one that we're really feeding on is that a strength of a cigar, where we classify strength of a cigar, that's talking about the acidity levels and the nicotine levels. And just like in wines, where your tannin levels in a red wine is going to smooth out, lessen, as the wine ages, as your cigar ages, what we classify as a strong cigar is going to get weaker.
Yeah.
So classifying a cigar as something that's being strong isn't fair in its description.
No.
And body, that's how much smoke you have. So I can lessen the body of smoke by using a punch cut. I mean, so part of what we wanted to do is we buy cigars because of the flavors.
Mm-hmm.
And so we started, intense, how intense those flavors are.
Mm-hmm.
How bold are those flavors?
Mm-hmm.
Not just is it spicy, but is it creamy? Is it fruity? Is it nutty? Is it earthy? Is it woodsy? How intense?
It's about the real nuanced cigars. So like I also enjoy a cigar that's not in my face with strength or in my face with heavy flavors, but the flavors can be complex but very nuanced.
Yes.
A good palate just starting to like, what is that note I just got? Oh, and it.
Yeah.
But it's not like, oh, right away, it's earth and it's coffee, it's cocoa, but like, that cream on top of the fruit thing comes in.
Oh, yeah.
It's nuance. It's not
that note that you only get on that retrohale.
Mm-hmm.
too. Yeah.
That note that you get on that retrohale. I think I've covered. What did I miss? I feel like I'm missing something.
No, you got plenty of time, because we got plenty to dissect here. Okay, when it comes to pairing. So either one can chime in on these. So another question I had was, is there something that just doesn't work with a cigar?
Oh, there's going to be plenty that's not going to work. I mean, we've even had it on our shows before, where we picked a hot tea, and I let mine seep too long. So you have to be careful about, like, whenever you're having tea, if you let it seep too long, it's going to be stronger. And the cigar that I paired with it, which I thought would be a happy marriage, because even I'm not 100% right. Graveyard's not 100% right. So, I mean, we don't get home runs all the time. And we were really shocked because the tea overpowered the cigar. And then it had that, sometimes you get that acid taste in a cigar.
Tannic,
So,
tannic,
So,
Yeah.
and so that's been one. Another one has been, sodas. Like, I went the natural route with raw sugar. And I'm thinking, okay, I love my IPAs. I love my citrus beers. I'm going to get an orange cream soda because I have drunk, Dr. Pepper cream soda. I've also drunk the A&W cream soda, and it's always gone great. So I was like, an orange cream soda would remind me of a beer. And I put it with one of the cigars that I normally drink with, like an Honduras or Dominican, which go really well with that IPA with the natural hoppiness to it. And I was expecting that. And I actually had a flight of sodas. I was like, oh, I'm going to have craft sodas. I'm going to do Big Red kind of a thing. And I did the craft sodas, which, I tend to go more craft things as, sophisticated, as I'm going to call it, or bougie. And I was really, it didn't do well. And it's the first time that I had 3 different things. I tried different, there was only one time that it really worked, and it was with the cream soda. But then the natural sugar cane from that cream soda was so overpowering for that cigar, it made it taste tart. And I just went and grabbed some whiskey.
I was going to say, yeah, this was the first time.
Did.
This is the first time, and we've now done 70 shows. And this is the first time that we both just left the pairing and went and got a whiskey that we knew that would go good with our cigar. And we always tell everybody, because most people, when they come across a pairing that just doesn't work, they blame the cigar. And they'll go, oh, this cigar is not any good. I couldn't smoke that cigar. And we tell them, no, don't change the pairing. If you want to know how the cigar really is, go to water.
Right. Yeah.
Go to water, then taste the cigar. But that's why we teach of it's not just whether the cigar is light, medium, or full bodied, but it's how those flavors of those cigars are going to marry up with whatever you're drinking. And don't just go, well, it's a Maduro, so it's going to be strong, so I'm going to pair that with a peaty, with a peaty Scotch. Well, your chances are you could hit it. And you'll have equal chances that you're going to be just completely off.
Yeah.
Let me dissect that for 1 second. So you bring up a good point. So I hear that a lot from people. It's like, I got this bold cigar, so I'm going to smoke this bold cigar. I'm going to pair it with this Lagavulin or Oban. It's the perfect pairing. The question I ask you, though, are you pairing the beverage with the cigar to bring out notes that are nuanced in the cigar, or are you pairing the beverage with the cigar to bring out different notes in the beverage? What are you trying to balance in that equation?
Yes.
With the pairing?
I'm going to say yes. Both.
I know.
Okay.
I was going to say it depends on our mood.
Yes.
Or anything.
There's 3 styles of pairings. Okay, there's a complementary pairing to where the flavors are going to complement each other and they're going to enhance. So if I'm smoking an Ecuadorian Sumatra, okay, and so we know that a Sumatra is really known for its earthy notes. The Ecuadorian brings out the tropical fruits and those nuances that we're talking about. The reason why is because Ecuador is known for exporting tropical fruits such as bananas. Okay, so cross-pollination, we get a lot of that in there. So a complementary pairing, let's just stay on the Scotch realm right there, would be something from your Speyside or your Highlands, where you.
That's what I would do with a Highland. I would do a Highland malt.
Complementary pairing. Contrast pairing would be, okay, we're taking that same cigar, but that cigar has some Nicaraguan long fillers from Esteli or Condego or Ometepe, which are typically known for some of your spicier notes on it. And you may not necessarily be able to pick those up. So a contrast pairing, I may take that and pair that with, say, a rye whiskey, a high rye bourbon, or a smoky Scotch, a peaty or smoky Scotch, where that's going to contrast the main flavors, but allow some of those subtle or back notes to come forward on that.
And Well, and then I was sitting there, you're sitting there thinking, and it's like I was a blended red is like a go-to that I would probably go with that is
Yeah.
like a blended red because it's gonna kind of it's it's gonna you're still gonna have those, the peppery and all that stuff, but you're gonna get more of that citrus fruit because of the thing. So it's gonna compete, but it's also gonna marry. It's gonna be one of those complex. It's like a woman. That's what I'm gonna say. That's gonna be one that's like a woman pairing right there. It's difficult to understand, but you enjoy it.
And that's actually what we would call a perfectly balanced pairing,
Yeah.
to where it's got your drink that you're pairing it with your cigar has those complexity and notes to where it has both the fruity, the floral, and the spicy and the earthy notes all together. And if you're into wines, you know that on a really nice with a really nice Bordeaux or Burgundy or a GSM, we get that full range of notes on there. But what we tell people to do is always pick, especially when you're getting started out, until you really know your tobacco and you know your style of drink, always pair your drink to the cigar and not the cigar to the drink, because the cigar is going to be more complex in its notes. And it would be easier to say, okay, I want to pair something. This has got some nice fruity notes to it. And so I want to pair something with that. And I'm going to go out and pick something that's, I may go out and pick a wheated bourbon, because wheated bourbon is going to be a little bit more sweeter and a little bit more fruitier in its notes. So I'll pick out a wheated bourbon to go with a more fruity and floral noted cigar.
Well, and it also, I was going to say, because your cigars are more complex, and usually whenever you have a cigar, it's transitions, and that's like another thing is like you kind of need to think about is like the transitioning of your cigar, because you have the first third, second third, and your final third, and so and what we tend to smoke is those boutique cigars where Graybeard and I, we go for those, and boutique cigars have more of a transition than other cigars. So it's real notable for that. So make sure you know the different ones from as you're transitioning, because that's going to have an impact of the drink. Because there's been times that you'll say, oh, like when we did the soda, oh, in the middle, it wasn't bad when I paired it with this one. But however, when it went to that final third, it was just like horrible. And I was like, I'm done. I got to go get me some whiskey to finish this off, because I wanted to enjoy it on a different note. And I knew exactly which whiskey to get because I knew my cigar flavors.
And my pairing on the soda, it was just bad all the way through. I tried to get through it. I tried, but I gave up before she did. I gave up before she did.
So Lou Piscatelli, one of our viewers and a very good brother and Leaf friend of mine, just chimed in and says that gives me a reason to have 3 drinks.
Yeah, and it's really nice to do flights. I really enjoy flights. It's I will try at wintertime when we were and I know that y'all are gonna laugh at this from the north. Graybeard and I are sitting here like freezing cold.
No, I'm in Florida, so
you're in Florida.
It's getting chilly here. Actually.
It's getting chilly. So okay. So it's like 40 something degrees right now. And when it snows, we don't go because we don't. And people always make fun. Oh, you are Texans. Y'all think you can do anything. Well, we don't have snow trucks. That's not something that we just keep lying around because it snows like maybe once or twice, But we had it to where it snowed for like 3 or 4 days. So we were kind of like snowed in. Y'all can laugh. It's okay. So I took my different whiskeys and I had made hot cocoa. So I made a flight. I think I made about 10 different hot cocos, and I tried it with 10 different whiskeys just to kind of see what it is. So that's part of the fun thing about, what we get to do and what we try to encourage other people to do is think outside the box, try something new, and don't be scared to try, hot cocoa. I had it with Penelope. I had it with Smoked Wagon. I had it with some Angel's Envy. I mean, I think I took half my whiskey bottles and tried different ones with the hot cocoa just to see what what was good and what wasn't good.
You're pouring
And
the whiskey in the cocoa, or you're drinking the whiskey, sipping the whiskey and drinking the cocoa?
I pour it in there. I do a rations of shot. I had 2, like, and before people are going to sit there and say, oh, she had a whole coffee mug slush. I did about 2 shots of hot cocoa and about a shot of whiskey in each one, 2-to-1 ratio to try it, and saw which one I liked and preferred, stirred it up and saw which one I liked. And Penelope won, which was, hands down with the hot cocoa. So it was really good.
And there's another way to pair what we call the deconstructive pairing, where we would take a cocktail and we break the cocktail down into its different components and then pair that component to a particular third of the cigar, or multi pairings. Where there was one time I paired the Crown Heads 4 Kicks limited edition, 2021 limited edition, and I started off with a wine. It was a Syrah from Northern Rhone Valley. Transitioned over to Milam and Green straight bourbon cask, the straight bourbon, which is a blend of 3 different bourbons. And then through the second third, got into the final third and was noticing that that pairing was starting to transition to where it wasn't that good of a pairing, and went back to the wine. And it was a beautiful pairing. And because of those different transitions and how the cigar changed and really dictated me to change what I was drinking with it to be able to continue that enhanced experience, I wrote an article about it. It's like, look at your pairings like this. It's absolutely okay to change your drink through the pairing, because as the cigar transitions.
And we've done that with Pete. And I mean, not Pete's, with Scotch, because I'm going to tell you, I'm kind of the newbie to whiskey. I've been only probably drinking whiskey for like 3 to 4 years.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. So,
Here.
Here. So, I did that, and I wasn't much of a Scotch girl, and I'm gonna say it's probably because I'm Irish and we don't like the Scotch, so.
But good Irish whiskeys now, good redbreast goes very well with a cigar.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
So we were talking about Scotch, and so we did, and I'm trying to think if it was the Fiat Lux. I don't think it was the Fiat Lux, but we did ones with different Scotch. So we did a flight of Scotches with one cigar, and as the cigar transitioned, we transitioned to our different flights, things. So that's it. It's always fun to do that, to see what you're going to do, because you could do it with wines. I've done it with wines, and another thing I've done it with is chocolate and foods.
Chocolate, hands down.
So
it cleanses the palate, the chocolate.
So it's people don't really are kind of like, and I'll tell you something else that is really like, I like my sweet. I'll do cinnamon rolls. We'll do sour gummy worms. That's one thing that we've talked about.
You're laughing, but we had an episode that it was the twisted pair, twisted pairing. And so we had to come up with what was the most twisted pairing we could come up with. And she did, it was, we were smoking
White Cavalier.
White Cavalier from Sebastian. And we had to come up with a candy and a drink to go with it. And she came back with sour gummy worms, and it's one of her favorite pairings.
And red wine. I did an old world wine. And it was I think it was a Ganache, if I remember correctly.
It was lyric Ganache.
Yes, and like hands down, that is like one of my favorite ones. And another one is, it doesn't necessarily always have to be alcohol either, is Graybeard and I, we went to one of our local lounges here, and there was a coffee shop that was next door. and they roasted their own beans and everything. And I'm like, Graybeard, I want you to try this coffee. But they have these cinnamon rolls that are out of this world. And so I said, we're going to pair it with a cigar and some coffee. So I actually had the roaster who actually smokes cigars. I said, hey, I want one of your white chocolate cinnamon rolls and your regular chocolate cinnamon rolls. And we're going to pair it with this. And I said, what coffee are you thinking? If you had to create a coffee for us, what would you do? And he said, I would do a white vanilla macchiato Americana. So I was like, hey, I'm down with that. And we had that. And that's one of Graybeard's favorite pairings that we did was, and we took the cinnamon roll and I said, okay, we're going to split it in half. We're going to see which one's better, the white chocolate or just the chocolate. Just let's have some fun here. So that's what we do. So we have fun with it too.
So that was a really good segue into what I was going to ask you, but you covered it all. So that's good. We covered the coffee and pastry side of things for a moment. Let me take a quick break. I want to just give the shout out to the sponsors for the show tonight. And when we come back, I want to dig a little more into this cigar, which is your blend. And we're going to talk about what you would pair this with so I can learn.
All right.
All right. So today's show is brought to you by
Introducing Blackened Cigars, M81 by Drew Estate. A dark, bold, and unapologetic cigar collaboration.
My job is all about taste. So when James mentioned he wanted to create an exclusive cigar, I was stoked.
Like Metallica, Drew Estate has some of the most hardcore fans out there. I've known Rob Dietrich for years. And when he approached me to collaborate on this, we couldn't be more excited. I mean, Metallica, Blackened Whiskey, and Drew Estate, what could be a better passion project?
We all came up with a vision of what a blackened M81 cigar would look and taste like. M81, Metallica, formed in 1981, as you can see right here, just so I don't forget. And now you won't forget because it's on this.
We needed to craft a cigar unlike anything in our portfolio.
One that would take cigar fans on the deepest, darkest, heaviest journey into the mystical world of Maduro.
Full-bodied with notes of espresso, leather, and dark chocolate. A wrapper, a binder, a filler that is all Maduro, and they're all grown in separate places.
You talk about a heavy leaf cigar. This is beyond passion. This shit is straight amplification.
Blackened Cigar M81 by Drew Estate is bold, rich, and powerful enough to satisfy the most experienced cigar connoisseur, but also balanced that new cigar lovers can enjoy its tantalizing smoking experience as well.
Blackened Cigars M81 by Drew Estate. Coming soon.
Before you light your next cigar, be sure to check out Cigar Medics, the makers of the patent-approved humidimeter. The humidimeter is a tool designed to display the relative humidity inside your cigar. With this device, there's no more guessing. Simply insert the probes into the foot or cap of your cigar, and you can instantly know if your cigar is ready to be smoked. Buy now on cigarmedics.com and see site for other cigar accessories. With the humidimeter, you'll know when to hold them and know when to smoke them.
And today's show is brought to you by Bocock Brothers Cigars, a new and active brand founded by two Honduran brothers, Bryant and Douglas Bocock. The brand zeroes in on those folks that are looking for easy-to-smoke cigars inspired by unusual circumstances. Very importantly named after their very interesting and imitable last name, Bocock. Right now, Bocock Brothers is featuring their signature edition, made at the A.J. Fernandez factory in Esteli, Nicaragua. It features an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, a Nicaraguan Habano binder, and a Nicaraguan filler. Available in 3 popular formats, a Robusto, a Toro, and a Gordo. You can check out Bocock Brothers Cigars at www.bocockbrothers.com. The year was 1947, and the Rodriguez family began the masterful art of cultivating tobacco on their private plantation in the town of Suguane, Cuba. By 1952, La Finca Common Cedar employed over 20 workers and grew over 120,000 pounds of tobacco annually. Of course, 8 years later, the Cuban government nationalized the private plantation, and the Rodriguez family was forced to immigrate to the United States. In 1971, the Rodriguez family found a new beginning on the island of Key West and established the Rodriguez Cigar Factory in 1984. That factory stands as the oldest cigar manufacturer in the Florida Keys, preserving the historical cigar manufacturing industry that began in Key West in 1831. As the years passed, new generations of family members have expanded manufacturing operations to Nicaragua, and they're proud to be working with some of the finest tobacco in the world. Rodriguez cigars are exclusively constructed with vintage leaves that have been hand-selected, aged, and constructed through the traditional Cuban manufacturing process. If you're ever in Key West, I highly recommend visiting the Rodriguez Cigar Factory and take the $15 factory tour. You will be able to learn the history of Key West and cigars, and as a memento of your visit, you'll be able to roll and bunch your own cigar to take home with you. You can check out Rodriguez Cigars at www.rodriguezcigarskeywest.com. And today's show is brought to you by Platinum Nova Cigars. Platinum Nova is a family-owned and operated premium cigar company. Only the highest vintage tobacco and the most skilled hand workmanship go into the making of each Platinum Nova cigar. This results in a timeless blend of art and craftsmanship. The Nova brand and the family's work are a tribute and an honor to their grandfather to always remember him and his infinite passion for the finest cigars. Their love for cigars started with their grandfather, a dedicated master blender and entrepreneur in the cigar industry. So the next time you're looking for that exquisite cigar experience, pick up a Platinum Nova. You could check them out at Platinum Nova Cigars, www.novacigar.com, and on their Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter channels. Thank my sponsors. Without them, this show is always a little harder to do. Let's come back to Ash and Dave. So let's talk about this beauty of a cigar. How'd you come up with this? Number one, who rolls it for you? Where is it manufactured? And what can someone expect out of this cigar?
So our good friend Raymond from Providencia,
Good people.
good people. He contacted us one day and said, "Hey, I want to support Leaf and Grain, and the way I know how to support it is I want to put together a cigar for you guys to put your label on." And Red and Matt and I were like, yeah, okay. Tell us more. Okay. Because it's been like a number one goal. And so he had some blends that he'd been working with Noel Rojas on. And we tried a couple of the different blends, and it decided upon this one. Number one is because it has one of our favorite rappers. This is a San Andreas rapper.
Okay.
And we're big Nicaraguan fans.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's got the Habano binder on it, which a lot of people don't realize, but the Habano in Nicaragua comes from Jalapa. That's where primarily 90% of the Habano wrapper is grown, is in Jalapa. And it's a Nicaraguan Longthorns. And so we picked this one. Well, as we all know that Providencia has hung up their hats for a while. And so we reached out to Noel and said, look, we still want to continue doing this cigar. And Rojas said, we'll continue doing it for you. And so he continued. So to answer both questions, we got into it through white labeling because of our good friends Raymond and Jim from Providencia. and are continue doing it because of our good friends, Noel and Albert from Rojas Factory. So Noel Rojas does the rolling for us. That's how we came across the blend. We wanted a cigar that pairs beautifully with a multitude of drinks. And that's why we ended up with this blend, because of Ash, because Red and I, knowing our tobaccos and knowing how each different type of tobacco is going to pair with different types of drinks, we knew that the complexity of the notes that you would get out of this cigar is going to pair well with that.
Oh, I got out of this, and you've read my review, but just, I don't know if I nailed it or if I was completely off base, but we'll see. So I was getting a nice light pepper, which is what I got on the first light. I got some sweetness and malt that came into the early profile. All right.
San Andreas.
Then the cream notes started to wrap it all together in a nice balanced blend.
There's your Habano.
Okay. Then the fruity floral notes started coming in on the aroma, which I attribute to the San Andreas, because I always get some fruity notes out of San Andreas.
Yes.
And then that spice started to evolve a little more. And then I got a dark, bittersweet chocolate with some oak nuances laying in the background.
So that's your combination of the San Andreas and the Habano blending in together.
Right. And then I got some cedar notes deep in the final third. And I was pleasantly surprised at near the very end when I got a sweet almond note, like an almondine.
Yep. You pretty much hit it. And I'll let Red talk about some of her pairings that she's done with it, and I'll talk about some of my pairings, because I think we've covered just about every spectrum of pairing with this particular cigar.
So, as I stated earlier, I am a huge beer girl and coffee girl. I love my stouts. I love my IPAs. I love my my coffee. It was kind of, coffee was introduced to my family. Like I started drinking coffee at 8 years old. And my dad would not allow me to put any cream, sugar, so you had to enjoy it black. And my brother is the one who would always like make it, grind the beans, make it, pour over, or a French press or something. So they really got me into coffee. And I think it was because my dad used to be a pilot. So that was his juice that he lived off of, was he always had to be awake and on call. So I've tried different coffees. I have tried, and when I say flavored coffee, it's more of like, me adding like whiskeys or not creamers. I'm not a big, you can put your cream and your froth and your foam in there, but, and I've done that. So I've had our coffee with like a mudslide coffee, and it's where the beans were roasted to taste like a mudslide. There's a region in Mexico, and also there's another region in Africa where you can get the coffees to taste like blueberries or like chocolates and all that. So the soil that you have is in the area of the region where the tobacco is, and it also has those flavors of chocolates, oats, and toasted almonds that you can get. So if you kind of have the coffee from that region, it picks up more of those notes and it enhances the flavors, it's a beautiful marriage. And then I've added whiskey in my coffee, because I'm Irish and I like to drink, and Native American. So it's in my blood. I'm Native American and Irish. What you're going to do. So, I've added different.
Oh, you're Native American and you can drink whiskey?
Yes, yeah.
That's getting nuts.
It's my fire water, right? So, I even added that to my coffee just to kind of see what it would do. And I didn't hit anything wrong. Everything that I tried, and I was trying to get it to where I had a bad pairing. I know that sounds crazy. So then I said, okay, I'm going to go for my citrus blood orange beers, IPAs, right? Because those are real hoppy, really notes. And I was trying it with different IPAs, different oranges, different, even ones with lemon, and everything paired really well with it. So I was like, man, this is like, it's insane how well it's going because of the creaminess of it, or the citrus would marry up with the San Andreas. And so then I was like, okay, I'm going to go with my stouts because, as I stated earlier, I really love the stout. I've done like the barrel aged stout with, different whiskeys in it. I've done peanut butter stout. I've done a caramel stout. Tonight, I actually am trying something because it was just released from a local brewery in our place, and it's a s'mores. It's called S'mores Temptress right here. There you go. And here's another thing that I'm going to also kind of, when we were talking about how do you know what to pair, one thing that Gray Bear and I've also talked about is if you look on your stout labels and your wine labels and your whiskey, it always will tell you what food to pair it with to get more of the flavor. That's kind of a cheat sheet for you, so it's probably going to pair well. So this one said bacon. Of course, we don't have a bacon taste in our cigar, but I've had bacon with our cigar, for breakfast and eggs and stuff. We've even done that.
Fred Rui would argue because he loves his bacon. So I think he
Yes.
just bacon. You can't get it in cigars, right?
Well, we'll touch on that in a minute.
Yes. Then it said an icebox pie. So I love me some icebox pie. It's got that citry, but it's also got the s'mores and the graham cracker and the marshmallow. So knowing the creaminess in our cigars, the chocolate, I knew it was going to pair really well. So that, I've even done it with cocktails, chocolatinis, because I love my chocolatini things. I've done it with that. I've done it with tequila. So, I've tried different things to see. Everything's gone so well. And I'm like, okay, now I've got to see if there's something that it hasn't. I've even done like some teas. So that's what I've done. And every time I'm like, God, I get a new flavor, a new note that I've picked up that I haven't noticed whenever I've smoked it before on the Retro Health. So that's been another, it's been like, I'll text Gray Bear and I'm like, damn, I'm smoking our cigar. And I paired it with, green tea, thinking it wouldn't do well. And I was shocked, but I made sure I steeped it correctly this time.
Just a plain green tea or a matcha?
It was just a plain green. Yeah. So that's what I have enjoyed our cigar with. So from coffees, teas to stouts, and like tequilas and sipping vodkas and cocktails. But it's more been like the I wouldn't pair it with like like a Jack Frost. That's a cocktail that I've had, and it's a very coconut based. I just wouldn't do that with our because coconut's very fickle and it's hard to pair with.
Yeah,
so
coconut's probably one of the hardest foods that we've come across to try to pair with. Yeah.
Well,
myself,
I enjoyed like maybe just pure coconut, but like a pina colada with the pineapple and the coconut, right? And rum.
Yeah.
That goes, I find that to go very well with a lot of different cigars. Okay.
Well, I'm allergic to pineapple. So
allergic to pineapple, so is my daughter.
Yes.
Horrible disease.
My daughter's allergic to pineapple as well.
Yeah.
How odd.
3 people.
Rum. I've paired this with a couple different styles of rum from a Dominican rum, a Cuban rum. Most 96% of rums are your dark molasses based rums.
Mm-hmm.
I paired it with sugarcane juice based rums. Some of the Cubans are sugarcane juice based rums. Every single style of scotch that you can come up with, from peaty scotches to smoky scotches to peaty and smoky scotches, Speyside, fruity floral, Highlands, Lowland scotches, Irish whiskeys, triple distilled, double distilled, Irish whiskeys.
You need
My-
more. You need more of these leaf and grain cigars because
We've, like I said, we just put labels on another 100. I think that through our the shop that you can get them at, they've sold probably about 1,000 of our cigars.
get these at
we
the
brought 'em
underground,
out.
right?
Yeah, this is
That's
the underground.
Underground cigar shop in Fort Worth, Texas. One of my most favorite cigar shops in that area to go to whenever I'm there, for sure.
Yes, it's our home store, and I think they sold over 1,000 of the cigars since we started coming out with them. I've smoked probably close to 100 of them myself, just because of the different types of pairings. I paired them with white wines. I paired it with champagne. I paired them with light body, your Pinot Noirs, Tempranillo, Syrahs, Grenaches, Bordeaux's, every type of wine that I can think of, Chardonnays, Viogniers.
So I'm kind of getting my head wrapped around that you get 100 cigars, but how many do you actually? You sold 1,000, but how many of them did you buy?
Probably about 100.
All right.
Probably about 100. I don't buy them as much now because I want other people to, but I've also given away, some, try, get them to people like yourself, because we want to hear what people think. Because part of our goal in 2023 is to expand, is to get our tobacco permit, and start working with Noel, directly coming up with new blends and building on. But keep in mind that, the LMG, which is what we call this, our cigar, this cigar, our Nargo cigar. Cigars is a side part of what we do. Is at some point in time in the future, we hope to be able to start doing barrel picks and offering a leaf and grain barrel pick. But all that's a side part of what we do. What we focus on, and where our key area of what we do is all around the education. Just like as going through the your advertisements for your sponsors, when the boomcock or
Oh, that's a good
Bocock. Yeah, when it's talking about the blend of it, and so it's the Ecuadorian Sumatra and the Nicaraguan Habano and the Nicaraguan, just because of labeling that blends, what's in the blend. Red and I both can come back and say this is exactly what we would pair with that.
What'd you think of the Drew Estate? Did you have you had the blackened yet?
I have not had it. I've got one in, and it's funny that you brought that up because Whiskey Rob Dietrich, on one of our shows happened to tune into the show, we were on Instagram, and was typing back, and so we immediately reached out. I'm going to jump at that chance, and I say, Whiskey Rob, guys, this is the guy. This is the blender behind the blackened whiskey, and they've got a blackened cigar coming out. I think we just lost Red. She'll come back. And so I said, Rob, I would love to have you on the show when it comes out, and let's do a blackened pairing. And he comes out and says, let's do it. So I've reached out, just waiting for him to come back and respond, and trying to nail down a date. And we're going to do a episode with Rob Dietrich called the Blackened Pairing, where we pair the blackened M81 with the blackened whiskey. So I've got one. I'm holding off until I can actually buy some more to actually try it, so that way I know I've got one for it. But I've been drinking the blackened whiskey since it first came out, and
I've had that. When I went to the at the Savage Feast, we were drinking. There was a lot of blackened whiskey to be had at the Savage Feast.
Oh, I imagine.
And of course, there was plenty of blackened cigars to be smoking at the Savage Feast. So, I wouldn't say I paid a lot of attention to it necessarily, as far as sitting down and just in that moment. But yeah, they're both bold. That blackened cigar is indeed a bold cigar. Okay. And with that whiskey, it kind of goes well. But I'd like to see what else it can go with. And I leave that to you to recommend other whiskeys too, besides blackened.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about the blend and what tobaccos are in it.
Yeah, I would venture to say one of the things that I found with those cigars is, of the different Vitolas, the Corona Doble I found to be the best expression of the blend. Okay, I like it. I like that the best out of all of their Vitolas. So I don't know which one you got, but if you don't have the Corona Doble, go get that if you can sometime and check that out. Compare it to what the other ones were like, and I'd like to get your opinion on that because I just feel that that had the best expression.
I've either got the Toro or the Corona, the double Corona, as what you stated.
Double
And
Corona.
that brings up another good point that a lot of people don't think about the Vitolas and how that's going to have an impact on the flavors that you get and how intense those flavors are, or how those flavors transition. So say like if you're smoking a Salomon, okay, so Salomon, it tapers, really tapers at both ends. So you're going to get a greater intensity of the wrapper flavor at the front and the back end, as it widens out into a larger ring gauge, that's going to allow the filler flavors to come in even more, and the wrapper flavor and the binder flavors to kind of transition into a little bit of the background of it. So all of that comes into play. So you can smoke the exact same blend in two different Vitolas and have a completely different experience.
Two different experience. Yeah.
And then you take the cut. Okay, so everybody always talks about, well, my favorite cut's a V cut or my favorite cut's a punch cut. Well, my favorite cut is, or guillotine. My favorite cut depends upon the cigar that I'm smoking. And what the Vitola is, what's the, is this a pyramid? Is it a chisel? Is it a standard Parejo? What's the shape of, what's the shape of it? And I'm going to choose the cut on that based upon that shape, not just go with I do a V cut on everything. Well, you do a V cut on everything, you could be introducing too much smoke.
Right.
And so you're just getting an explosion of those fillers, but missing out on some of the other nuances of the smoke on it, because you're just having just this explosion of the body of the cigar.
Well put. Thank you. And I totally agree with what you just said. Although I will say, with that said, I have found myself loving the Cigar Medics baller cutter to make this beautiful cut on a cigar that just seems to work with so many different things. Even a torpedo, cutting it with you do 2 snips on it with a torpedo, and it gives this nice little concave on it. So it's not like a deep V, but it's not like slicing off the cap to turn it into a Toro like some people do.
Yeah. Well, and I was gonna say is like a lot of times is like, see, people laugh at like people who truly smoke cigars. Like I probably have maybe 10 to 15 cutters, probably have 20 to 30 lighters. And, there's ones that I'm more partial to that I have. But right next to me, that's always on my table, is I have a tabletop cigar cutter. So that way I can, if I want a V cut, if I want a deep V, guillotine, all that, then I have my punches and all that, and my Calibre, which is a deep V, which is something that I enjoy. But it's not necessarily something that I'm not going to do a deep V on a Lancero. That's one of my favorite cigars is the Lanceros. I love Lanceros. Anytime I can get a chance to taste a cigar in a Lancero, you guarantee that I'm going to do it, because that's where I feel, and we've talked about it, you get more bang for the buck because of the wrapper and, on that. So I think it's kind of, you also need to know what kind of works for some of your cigars, because I've seen some cigars that have been ruined because people did not cut them properly, or they did the guillotine and they cut too much of it up. So you've got to be careful of that cap. as well.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of like we've gone, like, you know, when we talk about education on our show, we've gone to the basics of how to cut your cigar, how to store your cigars, what, you know, what's the best cutter to use. I mean, and not necessarily if it's a punch or whatever, because it can totally make or break your cigar experience. Because if you're sitting there and you cut the cap off, well, what happens when you cut the cap off? Your cigar starts to unravel, right? And then you're getting that binder. And, you know, there's cigars that, you know, have made it to where it's like fugly. They don't put a wrapper on it. So you're getting that binder, but it's not really enhancing your cigar experience, I want to say, because you're too worried about it. So we want people to enjoy it because you're spending money on something that, you know, tends to add up, and you want to have an enjoyable experience. We don't want people to be turned away and not enjoy what they're doing. So that's kind of like one aspect of the show that we talk about and that we enjoy on it. And so I just kind of wanted to bring that up about it, because the different cutters, you know, with the Lancero, I've seen people where they've punched it and they didn't punch it correctly, and it's unraveling, and they're like, "Oh, this cigar sucks." No, it's not the cigar. It's, you know, or they forget to take the foot band off of it. I have seen people do this, you know, and they like the cigar with the foot band, or they think because it's a cedar, I'm going to light the cedar of the cigar with the cedar on the cigar, and then it blows up in their face, and they're like, "Man, well, they shouldn't have done that." So,
There
yeah,
are people that actually do that.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We've had people talk to us about, okay, what about the cedar? And do I just light the cedar? It's like,
No,
no,
you
take the
take the
cedar off.
off and you light
Take
the
the cedar
cedar
off.
and light your cigar with it.
yeah, and
And,
even
um,
matches. You know, matches
Yeah.
are a good, phenomenal way to do it. But a lot of times it's like, you know, you're using the short match, and I want to kind of say there's some advantages about some matches that people don't have. Always get the longer match. If you have a cedar spill, use that. That's the greatest way to do it. But if you only have the short, get 3 short sticks, light them all at once, and that gives you the fire that you need, like a big one. So there's a little trick.
And,
Well, I
and
always light all my Connecticut's. I will always use a cedar spill to light the Connecticut, okay? Because it's so sensitive, you'll scorch it, and that just gets into your flavor. Now, on the flip side, on the other ones, I tend to use a single or a double flame torch, but I'm not like torching the cigar. I'm like
You gotta hold it out. You
holding
gotta
it out
hold it
here,
out
just letting it
to
warm
toast
up.
it.
Just warm
Yeah.
up, like I always describe, as that even orange glow. And then bring it a little bit like this and just give a little puff, end of the light, it works.
see, and we train people, we teach people that if you're wanting to light a cigar, to taste the cigar, as opposed to just get into smoking it, then don't hot light it. And take the flame, you can see the flame, and I'm going to take that flame, and I'm just going to come off the side of it, not coming into it, but come off the side of it, and just kind of like you're caressing it, whirling it around. So you've got that nice glow that starts to turn white all the way throughout it. But don't bring it up here and suck in on it and draw in on it, because that's a hot light. What you're doing is you're going to char those oils all the way down, because you're drawing in that flame in.
Yes.
And so until you
And
get
then you're
into that
getting
first,
the taste of the cigar fluid, like
Yeah,
the fluid.
and you're getting the taste of the burn of the tobacco and the burn of the oils. And you're going to get that until you're at least 1/4 of an inch all the way through.
And it's going to be harsh on the front end. You're not going to like it.
And a lot of
Right.
people are going to go, "Oh, this cigar is too harsh," and put it away
And dump it.
and dump it.
And it's not that. Yeah. So it's I always say whenever I'm talking to, you know, I have a lot of guy friends that come up and they're like, "Hey, I want to smoke a cigar. What's the best way to do it?" All this stuff. And I said, you have to treat it like a woman.
You got to,
You
why I
know,
always
you
say you
do.
got to date.
And I was like, it's one that you want to marry, not one that you want to one night stand, bang, thank you, all that stuff.
No, you
It's
got to
not a one
date
night
it.
stand.
You
You
gotta
got to
date
date
Yep.
it. if it's one that you want to bring home to mama, that you're going to cherish this woman, and it's not just a fun one, then you need to lightly toast her up, because women, we're not, romantic. We want that romance. You have to romance your cigar, lightly toast it, get it ready, prep it. And then when you're ready to smoke it, make sure it's even, because, you have to make sure that you're even out everything on a woman, because, if you just pay attention to one spot, we're not going to be happy. So you have to do that with your cigars, is to treat it like a woman that you're going to be with for a long time, and that, toast it up. Just don't hop into it, because then you're going to ruin your entire experience.
Awesome.
And I can tell that Jimmy's in my mind are just going all different kinds of direction from that description right there.
I'm going to go inside and treat my wife beautifully right after this show.
Well, see, I'm going to go into my apartment and go, damn, I'm still single.
All right, with that, let me take another quick break. I want to go through.
He's like, gosh, I need a commercial now.
What's new in news and reviews on Stogie Press this week. We'll get that segment out of the way. And when we come back, we'll go through kind of a lightning round. I got one more question on pairing for you, and then we'll get into a lightning round. So this week in reviews, let's talk about the Fratello Oro Toro. This cigar right here came out in 2016. I got this as part of a sampler pack. Most people probably familiar with this. Comes from Aurora Cigars. It's got Ecuadorian, Connecticut, Cameroon binder, and Nicaraguan and Dominican filler. And I was picking up notes of earth fruit, some natural sweetness, nut, but it did have a papery note deep in it. And then there was some spice and woodiness that came through. Kind of a little more rugged than most cigars you see. Comes in a ton of different vitolas, so there's something in there that should fit your size. Nicely bunched, decent ash, nice ash cone, right? But what this thing really got dinged on, again, had this little mild wave and a burn, but had these papery notes, and it really wasn't all that complex. Okay, so it ended up as a 90. The Espinosa 10. This is a new Espinosa cigar. They came out with 2 cigars celebrating the 10 years. This one here is their Espinosa 10 years. This one came in at a 92. This one here I found very nice. It did have a little bitter note, but that bitter note I'll get back to in a minute. There was some bitter black pepper, cedar, cocoa, spice, and woody notes. This $13 cigar I made at the San Latano factory, not their normal factory. So they work with AJ's factory on this. It has a hybrid Habano from Nicaragua with a Nicaragua binder and filler. So this is a Nicaraguan Puro. Overall, this cigar comes in one size. It's a 6x52 Toro. Nice looking cigar. It's got some veins, but I kind of like the vein structure on this one when I examine it. Something a lot of people don't pay attention to is the vein structure. You can have veins, and then there's also that nice vein. You get the webbing, you get the vein webbing in it, and when you see that, I like that on a wrapper. Nice ash cone comes down. This one here, when I talk about the bitter note, I had to say that I'm not dinging it. Normally I ding it on a bitter note, but sometimes that bitter note is that transition to that cocoa powder that comes in.
Yep.
Something's coming, right? And if something comes in like cocoa, you're like, okay, that goes with that. Sometimes it's just bitter and it's like, nah, I don't like it. It's failing. It's almost done. So this one came in at a 92. And then this one here, which was quite a surprise to me, it comes from Casa Robles. This is called a Knight's Tale. This is the Torpedo. This cigar here comes from Puerto Rico. It's a Torpedo. It's a $16 cigar. Comes in a 28 count box. It's got a Connecticut broadleaf Maduro. Yep. It has an undisclosed binder and it has Honduran and Nicaraguan fillers in it. And I was getting this citrus and coffee, cream, espresso, floral, fruit, leather, and spice. This thing just hit buttons right.
All cylinders. It hit all your cylinders right.
Yep, it was just hitting just right on it. Had a decent amount of oiling on it. Ignore this right here. It got beat up a little bit, but it didn't really have a major effect. I mean, it had a little bit of a wave in the burn, but other than that, this cigar really just had a wavy burn. The flavors were there, and it was consistent across multiple samples. So, you know, I smoked one and one, and it was like, yep, this thing is, they hit it all the time. So absolutely great find. I believe I might have got this from Lou Piscatelli, one of my brothers at Elite Friends here locally. And then in the news, I won't get into all the details. We're running through fast. Alec Bradley is now shipping their reclaimed package. So this is where they have all their number of cigars that they've had in the past, and they put it in this press here. And each one of these is numbered. Sinestro has announced their 2022 NV. So I always like this release from them. So Sinestro fan. So I'm looking forward to getting my hands on this one. Fratello has added to their state exclusive series, the Fratello Florida. So that's pretty cool. Living in Florida, I might have to get just a box. I want the box.
That box is pretty cool
That
looking.
is.
It's a good looking.
If it was Texas.
I'd agree.
Well, you know, they have a Texan. So there's a Texan and a Pennsylvanian, and now this joins and the DMV. So they join now this fourth one called the Florida.
Very nice.
JC Newman, I think it was yesterday, did a groundbreaking on, I should open this article up. So what they did was a groundbreaking of what they're doing is the Cigar Workers Park in Ybor City. So they're building a whole park here to celebrate the workers in the factory. It's an 8,400 square foot park. Okay, right across the street from the factory. So this was kind of a big deal yesterday.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I work for a living and couldn't get over there to cover the whole thing, but I'm sure we'll see more news on it. The Blackened is now shipping, as they noted, to all the Drew Diplomat retailers right now.
Yes.
They are quite limited, by the way. I've learned that.
Yes.
You know, they may be shipping, but they're not getting like 100 boxes. You know, they only got so much production of this right now. It will be more made, I guess, but right now they're just trying to get the first batches out to everybody. Plasencia is set to release their Plasencia Edifal, and this cigar here is this is a very expensive cigar. All right, just let's just put it this way: this cigar here is a box of 10. Is $650. Do the math, and that's not a typo.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Wow.
All right. But they're launching these 2,500 in the international market, 2,500 for the US, and they're using it. They're going to be launching it in Qatar, which is the home of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. So that's
very cool.
It's expensive. And then Eric Newman, another JC Newman article, got inducted into the Cigar Hall of Fame. So big applause.
Very cool.
And Eric, rightfully deserved. And I think this is the last one. So LH Premium Cigars have announced their Nikos extension to the Nick line. So I just actually smoked that. I found out to be a really good cigar. So look forward to that review. I like the craft that Nicholas has been coming out with LH. And then lastly, there is a product review out here. And I just recently reviewed these beautiful things. The Nubber.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Nubber, local Texas. And I found this to be an enjoyable accessory. I love the way it's designed. I love the fact that it's got, and I'll just close the screen here because we're done with all the news.
You need to show it off.
I love the fact that it's double pronged because then the cigar is not rotating around. I love the fact it's got the magnet on it. Holds. There's a lot of things I like about this
Yeah.
little cool. So check it out.
And and our logo or your logos on them, and the way that he customizes them.
Yeah.
Yes, does a great job, and
Yeah.
it doesn't cost
Yeah.
much to add that to it. So
Yeah, and it's handmade. So you talk
and
about
it's
the
all
arts and
handmade,
craft. It's
veteran-owned
handmade.
business.
It's a veteran-owned business, phenomenal guy, a dear friend of Graybeard and I. And I mean, we can't say enough about him. Just like outstanding, person.
And all I
And
can
the
say
quality.
is that these are he sent me 3 of these. I'm keeping one. The other 3, he sent me 4. I'm keeping one. The other 3 are going to be part of the Take It to the Nub Wow Factor giveaways. So
Oh, cool.
people winning these in that package. So
I
don't forget,
wanna
love,
show-
like, or share this video, people, because
Yes.
you might win one.
I want to
And you
show
will
how
want
strong
one.
this. I want to show how strong this magnet is. So this is the Lotus Perfect Cut. So you know how heavy this cutter is.
Right. There you go.
So on your golf cart, grilled, whenever I'm a big, huge smoker. I love smoking beer can chicken, brisket, burnt ends. I smoke my turkey. My kids don't know what oven turkey tastes like because it's always smoked for like the holidays. So, I mean, and whenever I'm out there smoking, because you're putting, wood into the box, right? So I just pop it on there and I don't have to worry about my cigar blowing away or anything. And it stays on my grill, my smoker. So it's phenomenal. So, but I do want to say this. I didn't realize that I was 4 years old when Metallica came out. When he said that, because I was wondering, why is it called the 81? What's that? And when he said that, I was
Graduated
like,
college when Metallica came out.
golly, I was 4 years old when they came out. That's insane.
4 years old. I was entering high school when they came out. You were in college when it came out.
Graduated.
And I wasn't even in school.
Graduated college. Well, you got a few years on me.
Right.
Yeah, I
You got a few.
wasn't even in school when they came out. So there you go.
I want to give a shout out to Cynthia Gonzalez. She's here in a couple of weeks. She's going to be putting on the Puerto Rico Cigar Festival. And when we had her on the shows talking about how Puerto Rico is just not getting their name known, and they've been a big tobacco producer.
Yes, they have.
And they just kind of get clumped in under, U.S. tobacco. So one, I'm curious if that binder is actually a Puerto Rican binder, but the fact that this is a cigar that cigar that got such a beautiful rating of 94, and it's classified as a Puerto Rican cigar. I mean, that is great for the industry to see a cigar that's labeled as that.
Some very nice Puerto Rican cigars. Okay. I mean, they do grow their own leaf. They don't have as much of a cultivation as places like Nicaragua,
right?
Places like
and that's
that.
what she was saying.
They do have their own leaf. They're trying to expand. They've had obviously, natural disasters.
In
Storms they have just pushed them back a little bit, but they're recovering. So we'll see. We'll see what
I'm excited to try it. I'm like, okay, I need this cigar just because based on what you're saying with the citrus and all that. I was like, dang, that sounds like a really good cigar.
So let me ask you the question I was going to ask before we go into a lightning round here.
Okay.
When we talk about pairings, we touched on a lot of other ones, but what would you pair with a Candela wrapper?
Oh, I already got you. I already know.
We both got you on that one.
Okay, so an IPA, Indian Pale Ale, and my favorite one to pair with a Candela is a 1985 Voodoo Ranger.
I like Voodoo Ranger.
Yes, if you go for the 1985, when and Indian Pale Ale gets a lot of hate because of how hoppy and citrusy it is. But let me tell you, and in fact, on our website, I did review a Candela wrapper, and it's from Sebastian, and it's from a Smokers Abbey out in Austin. They do a beautiful Candela. and it's from their home shop. He only does it exclusively for them. And, you know, I was raving about this candela. And in fact, Graybeard was like, I've got to try it. He tried it. It is the #1 candela that I've ever smoked. It is freaking phenomenal. So you pair it with a 1985 Voodoo Ranger IPA, and you will be floored about how well it goes together.
So I'm gonna go in two different directions with this. Okay, so I agree 100% with an IPA. I paired it with a triple hops IPA from a local brewery here. But I've also paired it with Viognier. So Viognier is a white grape, beautiful wine. It's really nice, and it's citrusy notes and some of those grassy sungrass type style notes with that. Goes great with that, but also goes really beautifully with a Speyside Scotch. Or, you know, so say like I've done it with a or a Highland Scotch. So let's say like a Dalmore 15, Speyside, a Macallan 12, a Glenlivet 12, you know, a couple of different Speysides, because those Speysides have those floral notes. And because of how young, and what a lot of people think, okay, they say a candela, well, that is not a type of seed.
No,
It's how long that it's not.
It's super heated.
It's a young. It's a baby leaf.
It's a baby leaf. It hasn't been fermented as long. It wasn't in the curing barn as long. It wasn't in the pilons as long. And they stopped that fermentation of it, or the curing of it through that quick heat curing of it. So you get those those brassy, those florals, those massive amounts of herbaceous notes on it. So a Sauvignon Blanc, which is very herbaceous in its notes, would be another good pairing on it. So you pair it up with something that is very floral, brassy, earthy, hay, sungrass, floral
Very
type
natural
notes with it, and it goes beautifully with it.
And I think like that's what the voodoo too, because you get those floral notes on that. So
yeah, that makes sense. And our audience has been engaged in this conversation, so thank you, everybody. So Kelvin Brown asked the question, good question. Do you recommend sip then puff, or puff then sip?
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
we're gonna say yes to that, and y'all are like, what? So when we first do this, we actually have a pairing journal that we've created. And in that pairing journal, it talks about, you write your review about your cigar, whatever your drink is. And, for us first, we usually start with the cigar first. And when you're first starting out, you want to get that flavor. And we talked about, especially if you have a closed foot. So like our cigar is semi-closed foot, as you noted in your article. So it's not all the way closed, but it's majority. So you're going to get that whiff of that wrapper, which is, and you're going to get the binders and the fillers, and you get a lot with the closed foot. I really love closed foot because it's like in your face, bold, whatever. So you kind of, the first, I want to say, it's like not even a half inch, I would say, 1/4, quarter of it. You want to get through your cigar of that, because when you first get it up, you're going to get more, it's going to be intense, at the beginning of it, most of the time, especially with the closed foot. So you want to get through that part of the cigar, and then you want to pair it to your drink. But as you're going along, this is the thing that a lot of people realize that, and I haven't been doing it properly because I'm enjoying the visit with y'all. So I haven't really been thinking about, is this a pairing and all this stuff. But usually whenever I puff, and I've been puffing to get the cigar, I will take my water, and I will drink sips of my water, cleanse my palate, get that all out. Then I go to my beverage so I can get the notes of that. And then, so then I'm doing that. And then I cleanse my palate again. And I will go to puff and then drink to see what I get. Then more water, then drink to puff.
Oh,
So, because you're going to get different notes throughout the cigar going from both ways. It's not going to be a consistent, you're going to pick up a little bit, but with whatever you're drinking, you're going to get those notes. And then it's going to be different than if you puff. So, so that's why we say yes to that, because you're going to get different notes on it, different flavors, different strengths. So
Makes
yes,
sense.
to answer that.
And you may very well find out that it goes really good from cigar to drink, but it doesn't go as good from drink to cigar.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. Now, the better pairings that we've come across where it goes really good from cigar to drink and then from drink to cigar. But you also got to think about it. Not all drinks is the cigar going to have an impact on.
Right.
All drinks will have an impact on the cigar, but not all drinks will the cigar have an impact on to where it'll change the notes in the drink. And so your more complex types of drinks, it will have. But when you've got, your simple drinks such as a soda or a juice, I paired a cigar. I paired from Christoph, the Pissed Off Christoph, which is a very spicy, intense spice cigar. I paired that with a spicy V8 and goes beautifully with it. The cigar doesn't change the notes of the drink, but the drink absolutely brings out the peppery notes and the citrus notes of the cigar. But the cigar doesn't have any impact on the drink whatsoever. So on that one, it's always a drink and then pop.
Let's get some lightning round questions. And the first question I was going to ask, but the audience came up with a good question. Before I ask Albert Hernandez's question, I want to caveat this with Lou Piscatelli's comment, who says Ash Red should get a K81 since she was in kindergarten when Metallica. So here's the question now. Okay. What song?
And I want to say I was in pre-K.
Okay, pre-K. PK81.
Yeah.
So here's the question. What song from Metallica would you be pairing with the blackened dram and a cigar?
Dang, that's like a hard one.
I'll go
my
first.
Gosh.
I just do it with Sandman.
That's what I was gonna say. No, you took mine.
Okay, we're on the same page.
I was going to say Sandman too, because that one just seems, that's just classic Metallica.
It is. And I'm going to say it on this one. It's one of those songs. It's a lengthy song. And now, here's the crazy thing is I have actually met Metallica. So I was in, was it Brazil or Chile? I can't remember. We were staying at the same hotel. And so I was in the presidential suite and they were in the vice presidential suite. But it's okay, but you had the concierge where they had chocolate chip cookies and all this stuff. And I really didn't know who they were. And then talking with them, they're like, yeah, we're Metallica. And they were just like the coolest group of kids. And I was a junior in high school at this time. So it was really cool. And now that I know that I was in pre-K and I was a junior, that's a long music career. And they're still really strong.
I'm going to have to change. I actually, for that one, I think I'm going to have to go a little bit more old school. For Whom the Bell Tolls.
There you go. That's
another
like a
good one too,
right? Because it's the whole persona of this cigar. Absolutely.
Yeah.
For whom the bell tolls. Yeah, that's
that one's cool too.
Let me ask you another question.
I think it's like Sandman.
Yeah. I'll ask another question. We're coming up on Thanksgiving, so thanks to everybody, and thank everybody that's ever helped you in your life. That's a good time to do it. But
amen.
What's the most exotic dish that you or somebody else brings to your Thanksgiving table?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily, like some people people think it like, if you're from the South, because I'm going to tell you, a lot of my influence comes from my mother who's from Alabama, so we had a lot of that, Southern home cooked, real cooked food. There's a difference between like Southern food versus other ones, but we always did a strawberry pretzel salad. And I would always bring that whenever we have like Thanksgiving, like I'm in education. That's my job that I have outside of this. And I always bring the strawberry pretzel salad. And a lot of people are like, what is this? It's kind of weird looking. And so you like toast and you sugar, you add sugar and like 1,000 sticks of butter, because like everything's better with butter, in the South. And then you bake the pretzels, you chop them all up real fine and you bake it, and you have that bottom layer that's toasted. Then you put cream cheese and Cool Whip and sugar, and you mix that. Then that's your second layer, and you freeze that. Then you make strawberry jello, and then you put real strawberries, you cut those up, and then you put it on the frozen one. And then 24 hours you indulge, and it is like strawberry divine. It is like, people, when they look at it, they're like, but then when they taste it, that is always gone. I have to make 2 or 3 of those, because you can eat it with the turkey, and then you can eat it by itself as a dessert. So that's
Albert
like
Hernandez says they call that strawberry delight in Southern California.
Yes. I mean, it is phenomenal.
How about you there, Dave?
This one's kind of hard for me, because since my divorce, it's, typically been just me and my son.
Chicken McNuggets?
No, I usually cook a pretty standard Thanksgiving dinner. The one that he always asks me to do is my sweet potato casserole.
Okay.
And it's just it's cubed up sweet potatoes with like a honey sauce in it, and baked with marshmallows until they're golden on top. And it's pretty simple, and that's something that he really likes. So that's something that I always try to make. I don't know how exotic it is, but
and see, we do butternut squash instead of the sweet potatoes.
I would say probably one of my more exotic dishes that I make is a Texas bourbon orange chili.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
Which it's a cup of Florida orange juice and a 1/4 cup of bourbon, and then spice up the chili however you want to spice it up.
So for me, my most exotic dish at Thanksgiving, which I am the only one that eats it, except for my grandfather when I was younger, before he passed away. He's the one that turned me on to it. Him and I were the only ones that ate it. Was mincemeat pie.
Okay.
Right? A good mincemeat pie. And I have people look at me when they don't know what it is, and they're like, oh, it just sounds horrible. And I'm like going, there's no meat in it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just all those cubed up, dried fruits and stuff put in, and that with some dollops of whipped cream on it, and it's just the bomb. And my wife makes that every year, and I'm the only one that eats it, and it's good. I have it for the whole weekend. I'm eating pieces of that pie, fresh out of the fridge. And so if you look it up, if you don't know what it is, look it up sometime. It's worth giving it a try. I remember when I was living in Japan, and I was there during Thanksgiving, and my Japanese colleagues, on the day before Thanksgiving, because I took the day off, day before Thanksgiving, I gave them a whole presentation on Thanksgiving. They didn't know what Thanksgiving meant. So I made a whole presentation on Thanksgiving, from the Macy's Day Parade to the turkey to this to the Indians and the whole thing, right? And then at the end, I talked about mincemeat pie, and they took it to heart, right? That I really liked mincemeat pie. And they were able to find in some
Aw.
grocery store these little tart size mincemeat
Aw.
in a box.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
And they
Yeah.
brought that
That's
in
very
for
cool.
me, and I shared it with them, and they were, their palate's completely different. And they were like,
Yeah.
no, there was one guy that really liked it. Thumbs up to him. Everybody else was kind of like, I don't know about this.
At least you didn't say fruitcake.
Well, I was gonna say that is like there's one place in Texas that is known for their fruitcake where you get them all over, people all over the world order this fruitcake. And
Because
my
they can be
dad would
gifted.
always, my dad always got the fruitcake from this company, and we always ate it. And I think that's probably why I didn't like the cherries. That was it, Graybeard. I'm gonna blame that fruit pie because that's why I didn't like the cherries.
You and your cherries.
Yeah, well, fruitcake never goes bad, I think. It's forever
Yeah,
preserved.
it never. Yeah, you can play baseball with it.
It's like
too.
a Twinkie, right? It goes on forever. So you get that at Christmas and you never open the box, and then you re-gift it to somebody else and they re-gift it to somebody else.
Exactly.
And if you got
It's
the
a gift that
fruitcake,
keeps giving.
it keeps giving. Nobody eats it, but people still sell them. So I don't know where they all are.
20 years later, it's like that letter that travels around the world, all the different stamps on it, country stamps.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay, so last question. There's a lot of cool new shows coming out on Netflix and Amazon. You guys streaming anything new that you've come across? And I'll start it off. My wife was big into the little short series, The Englishman. Okay, so I haven't seen that show. It's about 6 episodes. I watched it with her. It's a pretty intense show, and what you think is going on isn't always going on. It's one of those.
Right now, and here's the thing: I'm not big into television and watching TV, but here's one thing: is I love Game of Thrones. I was a huge Game of Thrones person, and at first it took me forever. And they're like, "Red, just keep watching it. You're gonna love it." And then I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm addicted."
Gotta know all the words and all the things. And
Winter is coming, and winter is here in Texas. We didn't get a fall this year. But then there's the House of the Dragon. So that is something that I haven't watched it in a while. I've watched a couple of them, but I need to get caught back up on it. But that is something that that I'm binging on right now is House of the Dragon.
There you go.
So there's 2 for me, and they're not new shows. They've got multiple seasons, but they're new to me. One is Manifest. I just watched the first part of season 4 of Manifest last night. 10 episodes. Watched all 10 episodes last night. Might explain why I didn't get any sleep, but hey, I'm ready for the final part of season 4 to come out. Fantastic show. It will pull on all your feelings. Every single one of them. It'll pull you on them. And then I really enjoyed the Outlanders.
Okay. Yeah.
Really interesting premise of, traveling back, centuries through time into the Ireland, Irish, when during all of that conflict with Scotland and with Europe, and then coming back into modern time and back and forth, and one person's point of view through both lifestyles of that, and how she, without giving too much of the way of the show, which era she chooses to live in and why she chooses to live in that era. So both very well written, great acting on it. So yeah, those are 2 for me.
So before we close the show, let me share. So for all of you watching, okay, so this is Leaf and Grain. This is their website. It's leafandgrainsociety.com. And I'll let you guys quickly go through the navigation of the site, what I'm looking at. I've got the home, which has got, you got some articles here, some things you're featuring.
Mhm.
What is happenings?
So happenings is where you're going to be able to come and you know, if we have an event that we're scheduled, we'll hit there. Highlights of some of the news articles. So, you know, so I would spend some time in Tampa, so I've talked about how it's there. If you go down to downloads,
Oh, downloads?
yeah, go to downloads. So we've come up with a couple of different things. We've talked about the pairing journal, which you've got the pairing wheel, which is this here. And we've got a version 2 of it, which I haven't put out yet. But basically what we did with this one is we took the notes from a note wheel from cigars and note wheels from wines, coffees, and whiskeys, and we
Married them all.
married them up and making sure that the deltas between, so in other words, what wasn't in each of the others were all together on this. And now, like I said, we've got a version 2, which breaks it down even further on that.
Mhm.
If you click on this one here, so yeah, the pairing journal sheet. So this is, Red was talking about this earlier. This is the pages, the main pages from our pairing journal. So with this, you can see where you write your cigar notes down, you know, the maker, the price, the total, the blend, and then you've got space to talk about what you're getting out of each third of the cigar. And the same thing with the drink. So what type of drink it is, you know, information and what kind of notes you're getting on the tasting of it. If you scroll down, you see where we've got space so that you can write down the notes of cigar to drink and drink to cigar through each third, and then you can give it a star rating. And then you've got enough space at the bottom to be able to take your band off of your cigar and use a glue stick and paste that in there.
Very cool.
And so we have a journal that you can get one off of there. And then you've got your standard ring gauge, and then we've got the tasting sheet where you have your Glencairns or your wine glasses, so you can put those on there and to be able to. And it's important when you're doing a tasting of a whiskey or a spirit or a wine, is to have a white background to be able to look at the color on it. I've just published a review on our website of the Kentucky Owl Takami edition of their whiskey, and in that, so if you go to pairings, then go down to beverages, and then go over to spirits. So here's where you can see the review. So if you click on this one, the Kentucky Owl edition, and scroll down, we talk about the journey through tasting. Now, this is just on a whiskey, but when you're doing a tasting, whether it's a cigar or a wine or coffee or tea, as you know, we go through all 5 senses of it. It's not just one sense. So the visual, what's the colors of it? What's the legs of it as it's on the glass? And so the legs are, how long it takes the liquid to come back down the glass.
Off the glass, yeah. Same thing with wine, right?
You're hearing. I mean, one of the most exciting things about, for those of us in the whiskey industry, is that
pop.
So when you're popping open the bottle, when you're taking the wrapper off of the bottle, when you're taking the wrapper out of the cellophane, the cigar out of the cellophane, the sound of that enhances your experience. And then you get into the sight. Then you start getting into the aromas of it. So how does the cigar smell in the cold draw as you're smelling the tobacco? How does the whiskey smell, the wine smell? Then you get into the taste of it. We know about the taste, but you also get into the feel of it. How does the body of smoke feel on your tongue? How does the whiskey feel on your tongue? Does it have a nice
is it
heavy
silky?
weight, oily? Is it Yes,
Yeah.
what is all of that? So all of those
Buttery.
come through the journey of the tasting. And so when I'm getting down into the review of it, I use those same terminology of aroma,
Mhm.
smell, feel.
I applaud you. I applaud you. This is a fabulous website. Anybody that really wants to learn about pairings, dig into more on beverages, especially. This has a tremendous amount of content, knowledge, experience brought through here. Your store, you can buy the clothing, you can buy glassware. What is Twisted Pair?
Twisted Pair is our show.
Yeah.
Okay,
Go
so this
ahead,
is your
Red.
show.
Yeah, so and it kind of started like, you know, when Gray Bear was talking about, like, he did a review and then I did a review, and I'm like, hey, let's do it together. So it's, you know, different guests that we might have on or different pairings. We've had challenges from our audience members, like with tequila, because I was like, every time I thought about tequila, I was like, 1, 2, 3, hit the floor. You know, I didn't have a very much respect for tequila until like we went through that. So it kind of, it does that. And then we've also had, you know, different guests on our show. So you know, we have that available through that. We have it on YouTube. We have it on our Instagram. So I mean, golly, the Apple, you know, Spotify, Google is where you can hear some of our shows, like, you know, when we're breaking down pairings, because we want to teach you. And, you know, we talked about that. And then the different guests that have come on to talk about like what they have to offer. You know, because a lot of times it's like, you know, when you first start off with cigars, like I started back in 1997, you know, when I was in second grade. And no, I'm just kidding. So I was a legal age.
Once you got into Metallica, you started.
Yeah, once I got in Metallica, I started, you know, smoking cigars. But, you know, I've been doing it for 26 years. And in the first part of it was like, I did it, you know, I was one of those first few women who started smoking cigars, and there was like no women that were out there smoking cigars. So it kind of, you know, it was interesting for that. And I just, you know, did it because I enjoyed it. But then as I've been doing it for a long time, I'm like, oh, I'm getting this flavor, I'm getting these notes, or I'm getting this. And it, you know, it's a journey. And it's something, you know, I do have 5 children. I want to say 4 out of the 5 children are grown adults. And I've had the pleasure of smoking cigars with 3 of my 5 children because they're of legal age. And it is like, you know, we talk about, you know, we have moments instead of moments. And some of those beautiful moments that I've had is with my sons and my daughters, where we're smoking a cigar, and it's something that we get to enjoy together. And they know when I'm smoking a cigar, I'm at my most relaxed state. That's when they can come talk to me about the real life issues that they're really having, because they're like, mom's not relaxed, so she's going to be crazy and she's going to go pop off at the handle at me. So it's kind of, you know, it's a beautiful thing that I get to enjoy with my children, you know, and carry on the legacy, because like my family started off in the Carolinas, North Carolina, as tobacco farmers. So
Okay.
it's kind of been,
That
it's
makes
been
sense.
instilled in generations of the family. And it's, you know, when you really truly experience a cigar, and I don't want to say it's a high, but it's like you get into this moment where you're relaxed and you think about the things that you've done. It's a time of reflection, and it's just a beautiful experience. And we want everybody to have that beautiful experience, but we want them to take it to the next level. And that's where the pairing comes in, because once you add a pairing that you really enjoy, you can enjoy it with your partner. You know, I know that like there's a lot of partners who smoke cigars. They may not agree on the same profiles. They may not have the same taste in cigars. But when you can sit there and have like cigar dates or whiskey dates or stout dates or coffee dates, it takes your relationship and everything to a next level, and it heightens it. And it's a beautiful experience. And we want everybody to enjoy that experience. So thus, Leaf and Grain and the Twisted Pair.
Thank you.
And our goal is to educate people and to, in our personal, I guess, selfish goals. Because I mean, everybody has what they do it for selfish reasons as well. What's your own personal reason? And we want Leaf and Grain to be known as the place to go to for cigar pairings.
And I think you've done an awesome job at that. It's a great start. I wish you the greatest of success in this. I will be paying attention to this site more and more as we go on. And I hope others will too, because you put a lot of work into this, not only in the content, but in the design of the website. My wife is a website designer. She's the one that took care of Stogie Press for me in the back end of it. She's developed a number of websites for cigar companies that have shit sites, and then she turned it into beauty. This is a beautiful, clean website, easy to navigate. I like the way the menus work. I like the way the content's presented. I even like the way the font and everything is put on there so that it's easy to read.
And I'm going to give 100% kudos to Graybeard because I can barely get my iPhone to work. So it's 100% Graybeard that does that. He has been doing that, and I'll send him one of the cocktails that I created. One of the things was I was like, okay, I'm going to create a summer cocktail and I'm going to do a pairing because of my regular job is just insane and crazy. But that was my goal to do that, and I sent him the information. And I mean, I just did it on my phone. And then for him to put it on the website, I was like, whoa, that's really impressive. So I'm going to give 120% kudos to Graybeard because he does that.
Awesome.
And I appreciate that.
Folks, that's our show. We went well beyond the hour to an hour and a half of the show, but that's okay. It has been a pleasure talking to you. Dave, talking to you again. Ash, meeting you for the first time.
Yes.
It's been a pleasure. When I get back down to Texas again sometime,
yes, I'll have to be there.
I'll let you all know. Don't know when that's going to be, but hey, I'll be there again, I'm sure. So with that, I want to thank the sponsors. I want to thank all the viewers for watching. Keep this thing rolling. Keep the brother and sisterhood alive. I'll give you all a short last word, Dave.
Thank you. First of all, thank you, Jimmy. Since we're on here, thank you for the amazing review of our cigar.
Yes.
Was completely 100% humbled by it. It was an honor, and thank you for having us on here, for supporting us in what we're doing, and any way that we can support you and all that you do. That's what we're all about, because that's what the community is about. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I'm going to just tag along and say thank you very much. We appreciate the review. It's something that we've worked on and we're proud of, and it was nice to see that what we create, what's in our mind. We think it's fantastic. We're also probably one of our hardest critics, so it's kind of nerve-wracking to sit there and say, okay, what's he going to say? It's our baby. And to read the review, it was something that, it was like, we did good. It was something that, we're proud of what we've done. And then having us on, and we are very appreciative. Like we said, we're all about supporting the community. Anytime we have guests on our show or when we're on their show, we always want to give a shout out to that. So, as we say, thank you. And we want to encourage you to, I'm going to let you say the first part.
Explore the pairings.
Because there's something for everyone.
I love it. You guys are great. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody.